Revelation 12:6 tells us that, "Then the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God, so that there she would be nourished for 1,260 days." At midpoint of tribulation, the nation of Israel will be given shelter and nourishment for the second half of tribulation. We don't know the specific circumstances yet, but that comes next. Revelation 12:7 says, "And there was war in heaven, Michael and his angels waging war with the dragon." The dragon and his angels waged war. In Revelation 12:10, "Then I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, Now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren has been thrown down, he who accuses them before our God day and night." Then 12 says, "For this reason rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, knowing that he has only a short time." This war will result in Satan being thrown down to the earth, which sounds like a description of Satan's fall at his rebellion. We know that event happened long ago, during the time of the garden and Adam and woman. Yet this war is happening at the 3.5-year point of tribulation, according to our time reference in verse 6. So this is a different war. Not Satan's original fall, but something that has yet to happen and won't happen until the mid-tribulation. Job 1:6 tells us that, "Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them." 7 says, "The Lord said to Satan, From where do you come?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "From roaming about on the earth and walking around on it." At mid-tribulation, all that changes, and for the first time in history, the enemy is forever barred from heaven. At that point, the angel Michael and the other angels wage a war against Satan and his angels. The sense is that Michael initiates the war, selecting the timing to fit God's plan. Up to this point in history, Satan's dominion has been the earth. But since he had access to heaven, he hasn't felt defeated. He could roam back and forth from earth to heaven, as Job 1 taught us. He was free to access the throne of God. Why has God been so patient, allowing Satan this access? In a word, it's grace to the world. Satan understands that when God bars him from heaven, the end of his reign on earth is approaching, and that causes him to respond like a cornered animal fighting for his life. Obviously, that rage will come against those who believe in Jesus, resulting in the martyrdom of most tribulation saints. But not only will believers be martyred, but also those Jews who remain faithful to the God of Israel, the Orthodox Jews. As we saw in verse 6, the woman flees into the desert to escape the rage of the dragon for 1,260 days. What is this provision of safety that Israel enjoys for the second half of tribulation? Revelation 12:13-16 reads, "And when the dragon saw that he was thrown down to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the 2 wings of the great eagle were given to that woman, so that she could fly into the wilderness to a place where she was nourished for a time and times and a half time from the presence of the serpent. And the serpent poured water like a river out of his mouth after the woman, so that he might cause her to be swept away with a flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and drank up the river which the dragon poured out of his mouth." Micah 2:12 1 says, I will surely assemble all of you, Jacob. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel, and I will put them together like sheep in the fold, like a flock in the midst of its pasture. They will be noisy with men, and this is because of all the people there. The phrase translated sheep in a fold is literally the Hebrew word for a sheep pen. The Hebrew word for a sheep or a fold is Botzra. As it turns out, there is a place in the wilderness not far from Jerusalem called Botzra, or sheep pen. So where is this place? It goes by another name you've probably heard, Petra. The area is filled with wadis, which are deep canyons running down the sides of the mountain. Apparently the enemy brings a flood of rain into one of those wadis, but the Lord supernaturally swallows it to save Israel. Destroying the Jews is Satan's only hope for self-preservation. The woman receives wings of an eagle so she can fly into the wilderness to be protected for 3.5 years. Exodus 19:4 says, You yourselves have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on wings of eagles and brought you to myself. The last time Israel fled into a wilderness to avoid danger was the Exodus account. And in that account, the Lord brought them to safety. God will grant Israel a supernatural escape. Matthew 24:15 through 21. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains. Whoever is on the housetop must not go down to get the things out that are in his house. Whoever is in the field must not turn back to get his cloak. But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. But pray that your flight will not be in the winter or on a Sabbath, for then there will be a great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world, until now, nor ever will. That flight will be the Jews who believe in the testimony of Jesus in Matthew 24, which means they are the believing Jews or saints. As bad as the disasters of the first half of the tribulation were, they are nothing compared to the terror of the second half. But now we've learned that the terror of the second half is not caused by the Lord's judgments, but by Satan's fury. Revelation 12:17. So the dragon was enraged with the woman and went off to make war with the rest of her children who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. Those who are outside Petra are the unbelieving Jews, which means they hold to the law and the traditions of Judaism, but they haven't received Jesus as their Messiah. This is the group who keep the commandments of God, which is a reference to the law of Moses. In the second half of tribulation, Satan goes on an all-out war against any Jew or believing Gentile he can get his hands on. They will be persecuted, and most of them will be martyred.